And to this day, I continue to stand by that statement because that was true for me. And I think we're afraid oftentimes to use the word hate because maybe people will judge us for being horrible people or whatever, like you're not supposed to hate. Hate is bad.
Hello and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be such a great day. We have an incredible woman with us today, Dr. Laura Brenner. She did practice dentistry for 10 years and then became a blogger and a speaker and a certified professional coach, and her life has turned around 180 degrees with incredible new and exciting events that we're going to tell you all about. But her blog post that really launched her was the 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. And it went viral. And that's really when she started this whole new exciting career. Since then, she has grown from nothing, a beautiful coaching business called Lolabees Career Coaching. And the focus of that really is helping dental professionals design their careers on their terms so that they can live joyful and balanced lives. And isn't that what we all want? Welcome, please, to the show, Dr. Laura Brenner. Hello.
Hello, Taryn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I am just so grateful. First of all, to you for coming on the show and for taking this time. Thank you, Laura, because I've been admiring you for a long time. And I am so grateful to you for bringing this resource to our profession. There are so many men and women that are so unhappy in their careers right now. And the idea of bringing joy and abundance and new spark, a new spring in your step within the dental profession and how to make that happen. It's so exciting. And I'm so grateful to you for bringing this expertise. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Well, we share a common language, don't we? And mission and
Absolutely. I mean,
mission.
there's nothing you know, that that gets me excited more than knowing that our colleagues need this new insight. They need to feel good about themselves in order to take care of the people around them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'd love for you to share a little bit of your story, Laura. Can you tell us a little bit, take us back to before Lolabees, when you were still in dentistry? Talk to us a little bit about your career path.
Oh, yes. Let's go way, way back to 2001.
Yeah.
Long time ago when I started in practice in 2001, and first couple of years I knew were going to be hard, and that was okay. I mean, dentistry is hard, right? We're doing something
Mm,
totally new, and I gave myself this allowance that it's okay for it to be hard, and it's okay if you don't like it because you just need to practice. It's going to get easier, and then once it gets easier, you're going to love it and you're going to be finally living your dream career.
yeah.
And then 3 years in, it wasn't getting easier for me, and I couldn't imagine how it would continue to get easier. So I lost hope at that point.
Mhm.
And that was when I decided that I really, really hated practicing dentistry. I was really unhappy.
And that's a strong statement, by the way. I really hated practicing dentistry.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And I love that you point out that it's a strong statement because that was truly my statement. And to this day, I continue to stand by that statement because that was true for me. And I think we're afraid oftentimes to use the word hate because maybe people will judge us for being horrible people or whatever, like you're not supposed to hate. Hate is bad. And there are times when every emotion is okay, right? So
Mm.
that if anyone else is feeling like they really just hate this work, like that's okay. Everyone's sugarcoating it like, well, I didn't love it or it was just okay. I really hated it.
Yeah.
Um,
And absolutely, you're not alone, and that's what we're finding. The more and more we're willing to be vulnerable and to share in this conversation, we're finding how many people are living their lives in absolute misery day to day and just excusing it or putting it off. I mean, you even said, in the beginning, you had this little inkling and you thought, okay, that's just the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. But it just wasn't getting better, even when you said, I'll be happy when. Yeah.
Totally.
Mm,
And I know you know this because you're the happiness queen. But when you have hope, that's like one of the key factors for being happy is having hope. And so that it worked. My first 3 years were okay. Like they were hard and I didn't really enjoy them, but I had that hope and that happiness to know that I was working towards something. And then when that disappeared was when I really started to get more depressed and
mm,
anxious. And I didn't really know that I was because I'm so good at hiding it even from myself. So in year 3, I just okay, let's talk about this hating it for a second because in 2020 I gave a talk on burnout right before the world shut down for COVID. And I was like, oh, let me research this burnout thing. And when I looked at it, I couldn't believe that every sign of and symptom of burnout was exactly what I experienced when I
mm.
thought I hated my career. So, I mean, which was it? Burnout or hate, right? And that's a whole nuanced conversation too. It could be both, it could be one or the other. But at the time, no one was talking about burnout. There was no one like you saying, "Hey, let's be happy," you know? It just wasn't a part of dentistry, so I didn't know what was going on. And then I spent the next 7 years in my practice or in my career, going through the ups and downs of loving my career and hating my career and justifying why I should stay and why I should feel lucky and
Mm.
all these things. And the whole time this nagging feeling kept coming back, and like when that nagging feeling keeps coming back, you have to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. So ultimately, I had this turning point where it was probably about 7 years in. My husband, I came home from work today and he gave me an ultimatum. And he was like, "We can't do this anymore." He's like, "You need to sort it out." He's like, "I don't care what we do. If we need to sell the house, if we need to move." He's like, "Let's work it out, but our marriage is not gonna last if you keep dealing with this and coming home the same way." Because I was, like, up at night at 2 AM every night worrying, and I was crying on my way home from work. I mean, it was encompassing for working at different times, anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week, it was encompassing the entirety of my life. It was
Yeah.
7 days a week,
Yeah.
you know? So, it really wasn't an ultimatum, but it was permission
Mm,
for me to explore. And that was when I was like, okay, got to do something about this. And then it took me 3 years after that to really allow myself to walk away.
mm.
And I quit dentistry after 10 years in practice.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm so grateful to you for sharing your story because I think so many people can relate to that. And so many people don't have the resources for the permission that your incredible husband at the time gave you. And really, what you've shown us is your husband gave you that permission, but then you needed to give it to yourself. The permission needed to come from yourself.
Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it that finally turned that for you? That was that instigator of this is I am worthy of my own permission to reach for happiness.
Yeah. Well, really, it was a combination of years of searching and doing personal
Mm,
development, but also getting help, working with a career coach,
mm,
and then working and getting therapy. And those were the things that I had to work through. I couldn't see it for myself.
mm,
And even when my husband gave me permission,
mm,
I still couldn't see it for myself, right? So I think it's part of that growth process of learning. And truly, Taryn, it was my desperation. I mean,
mm,
it got to the point where I was sick of it. I was so unhappy. I had to do something about it. I had no choice.
mm, mm.
And so it really was like, yeah, I think it was a combination of those, but mostly getting that support because so many times we can't do it on our own.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a bit about your journey towards Lolabees. So what sparked in you this idea of Lolabees
Oh my
consulting?
gosh. Okay, so this is so funny. So what sparked everything. So even though I kind of gave myself permission, I was just like Googling all the time and then
Mm.
changing my mind and, what else is out there and then changing my mind. And I was not getting anywhere. And then one day my husband found this little blurb in the local newspaper that was advertising, not an advertisement, it was like a column saying that there's this travel website that is just launching and they're going to do a travel show and they're looking for a travel show host. And all you have to do is submit a 1-minute video and enter this contest. And my husband was like, "You should do it. What do you have to lose?" And I was like, "No way. Like, there's no way I could do this. I'm not good on camera. I don't know. I'm not creative. I don't even know what I would say." And so ultimately I decided to go for it. And I made this really silly, sarcastic video. I had the best time doing it. And then I got my hope back because I was dreaming
Mm.
about this possibility. And I was seeing how it was, yeah, my everyday life was still the same as it was, but there was this extra spark that was helping me. And so ultimately, I know I did not win the contest, um, but it got me it's like it allowed me to change my energy. The reason I did it was because I was like, "You know what? I am gonna do it because all I'm doing is sitting here doing nothing and complaining, and I need to shift my energy so I can allow the space for opportunities to come my way." And the energy you put out there is what you also attract back, right? So, I had to shift it. So, it changed everything because then when it didn't work out, I was like, okay, well, I can't be a travel show host, but maybe I can just do my own version of it and I'm going to start a blog. So I wrote this blog about things that I liked because I didn't know even what I liked. This is what happens to us in dentistry. We pour so much into just becoming this identity of a dentist,
Yeah,
or hygienist or whatever role you're in, that we forget who we are, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm just gonna write about 2 things I like, and I wrote about travel and food, and what it no one read my blog, but what it did was it forced me to just kind of open my eyes and become aware, and I started noticing what was going on around me so that I could come up with stories to write about. And the more I started noticing, the more I started noticing, right? And ideas, it was like reconnecting with this creativity that we all have that we don't so many of us don't think we have, and I had lost. And that creativity led to creative thinking, which allowed me to see so much more. So ultimately, this is like a really twist, topsy-turvy winding road. But the awareness allowed me to see opportunities, and I began a weight loss coaching business.
Ah,
I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that, Laura.
Yeah. So it was a side gig. I was still doing dentistry for 2 or 3 days a week. This crazy thing is I honestly cannot remember if I was doing it 2 or 3 days a week. How weird is that? You think you're gonna remember these things forever, and I can't remember how many days I was practicing dentistry while I was doing my side gig of weight loss coaching. It was my husband's a chiropractor, so I was able to, um when we're doing something like starting a side gig, it's great to remove sort of lower as many barriers as we can.
Yeah.
So it really was I removed as many barriers because he already had a physical space with a room. I could just jump right in and use his office manager to help me schedule people. And so that was my side gig that really became my bridge career. It got me out of dentistry. Eventually I was able to quit practice
Mm,
and just focus on that. Now, it never became a full gig, and I think it's because it wasn't meant to be. Because had
mm,
it become my full gig, um, I would have never probably jumped into what I'm doing now.
mm.
So after I quit dentistry, about a week later, I saw a post actually on WordPress that was titled 10 Reasons I Hate the Dentist. And I was like, okay, fine. Here's 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. And hers was a joke and mine was a joke with so much truth behind it all, right?
Mm, mm,
And literally the night I posted it, it went viral. People were sharing it all over Facebook and social media. And that was amazing because even up until that point, even when you leave dentistry, there can oftentimes be it is a breakup, right? It's like a divorce.
yeah.
And there can be a lot of grief that comes with it.
Mm,
And so I had to go through that grief, but there was also for me this idea of like, why can everyone else handle dentistry? What's wrong with me? Why can't I do it? And
mm,
okay, great. I'm a quitter. And I knew I wanted to go back and help other dental professionals create their ideal business or their ideal careers. But I was like, who am I to do that? Because all I've done is quit. I haven't really done anything great, right?
ooh, isn't that
Isn't that
interesting?
crazy?
Yes.
Total imposter syndrome. So
Absolutely. Mm,
yeah, and so I did other things, had all these side gigs that I tried that gave me experience, and then 6 years after I quit dentistry, I finally was like, "Okay, I've tried these things.
mm,
It's time." And I did
mm,
it. I went back, got a certification, and I had been blogging about well, what happened, I kinda skipped a major piece, but when my post went viral, I suddenly realized that I wasn't the only one. And there were
yeah.
all these other people in the world, not just in our country, but in the world who felt the same way.
Mm,
And I just, it helped me recover and go through it helped me gain the confidence to know that I was okay and I was doing the right thing. It was like I had this built-in cheering squad because I started blogging about my journey into and out of dentistry, and I had this really small following of just a few hundred dentists and hygienists or like spouses of dentists like who would comment on my blog and create accidentally created this little community
mm,
of people who felt the same way, and as I was sharing my story, they were just cheering me on the whole way and saying to me like, "Thank you so much for doing this. You've helped me so much. It's changed my life." And I'm like, "But you don't realize how much it's helped me."
yeah.
So that was kind of amazing. And so yeah, so 6 years later after quitting dentistry, having a blog post go viral, I finally gave myself the permission again to
Mhm.
say, "You can do this," and I went and got certified, and so it was kinda built in because I already had my blog, and I just turned my blog website into a business website and just kept communicating and sharing with people.
If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you didn't get into business to be miserable. The problem is that people feel that if their business gets busier, if they start becoming more successful, that happiness will eventually set in. But it can actually get worse. This is why I created the Business of Happiness Prosperity Coaching. In this one-on-one coaching, we look at how to redefine success on your terms and re-find the joy and the passion in your dream. Visit me at thebizofhappiness.com and become the happiest business owner you know. So cool. So cool. I love those concepts. You've mentioned a couple of them, hope being a huge one of them. And it's so interesting how having hope not only gives you confidence and gives you like legs to stand on, but it also adds color to your life. It gives you a sense of living your life again, as opposed to being a victim of something. And then the other great thing that you mentioned is a sense of community, like being recognizing that you're not alone, that it almost is a validation of your feelings.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and to go back to my all-time favorite quote that I tell everybody all the time
Yes, please.
is because this was a big revelation for me when we started learning from Brene Brown
Yeah.
years after all this happened to me, and she said, "Isolation breeds shame."
Yes.
And that's exactly what I had in my whole career
Yes.
because I couldn't tell anyone that I was unhappy.
Yep.
And so the whole time I was ashamed, and that just made it worse. And she also says that empathy kills shame. And that's exactly what happened. Once I had these other people who were like, "Yes, I see you. I get this." Then it just all went away and I could feel good about myself again.
Yeah. Yeah. And bring back that self-worth and that self-validation. Yeah. Yeah. So
Totally.
what does Lolabees do now? What is your focus in Lolabees at the moment?
Lolabees. Oh, and by the way, I think you'd find this funny. Lolabees, the name itself was even an accident. Like when I started my blog, I was like, I don't know what to call it. This is my email name that I kind of evolved from Laura B over to Lola Bees and thought it'd be cute to have like bumblebees. And then
Oh,
I was like, you know what? I don't care what I name this. I'm just going to keep my business the same as my blog. So some of these things that we think matter just
mm,
don't matter,
mm.
you know? But anyway, um, it turns out that the bumblebee also happens to be a very communal animal and they all support each other in their community and they're not supposed to be able to fly based on their physiology. So they
Right.
defy the odds and they find a way to fly. So it turns out to be the perfect symbol for what I do, and that is help other dental professionals create much more alignment within their careers. The approach that I love to take is helping people start side gigs and really design dentistry how they want. So it might be cutting down to a couple days a week in clinical practice and then on the side doing something else that can bring you income, and that may be where you stay. The end goal may be that that's a way to get yourself completely out of the career. So it may even be career change or it's designing dentistry. This is a friend of mine who's not a client, but the only person I knew 20 years ago or 15 years ago when I was so unhappy in practice, she sells whitening on QVC and owns a spa. She literally rents a room in a real spa where she does whitening and Invisalign. Now, how unique is that?
Yeah, totally.
Right? So why can't someone else design their dental career on that way?
Yeah.
She loves it. It totally works for her. And she basically got into it because she used to work for, remember Bright Smile?
Yeah.
And when they closed down, they had their business model was the problem. She's figured out how to make the business model work for herself.
Wow.
So
Mm.
anyway, that's the point is it doesn't have to maybe it's non-clinical. Maybe it's one of my clients, Heather, she ended up doing a 1 day a week consulting with Delta Dental and then ended up getting this amazing job as the director full
Wow.
time.
Mm.
And so it could be anything, but it's this idea that I think we used to believe that there was only, oh, you're going to love this. This is so on your messaging. There was only one way to be successful in dentistry, right?
Yep.
And that's to be in private practice with $1 million practice, you're an owner, but
Yep.
we now are seeing that there are other ways to define success in
Yeah.
dentistry. And I
Beautiful.
help people go for it.
So cool. It's so powerful because, as you know, what I believe so deeply is when we reach for that happiness and we find that inner fulfillment is when we really can bring ourselves, because for those 7 years that you were practicing, you weren't showing up as the beautiful, incredible person you could be. I mean, how much good are we really giving our patients if we are only half there?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's the question I always ask is like how much are we really helping them? Or if people are worried about not just their patients but their boss or their
Yeah.
team and they're worried like or if you're the owner and you're worried about letting your team down, let's say you want to end your day at 4 instead of 5. I know people who are so afraid that
Yes.
their team will judge them for that and it's like, well, how can you really show up for them if you can and by the way, the one who I worked with who did that, she did it and her team was they were thrilled. Right? Like we create these things, but we have to we can give more when our buckets are full.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know there's so many examples of that. Lori, you're gonna love this one. I have a friend who still owns her practice. She's an orthodontist and she ends her day at 3. which blows your mind as an orthodontist because you're thinking all the kids, that's the prime time after school. Not even an issue. Not even an issue. And it changed how she saw herself at work. She gets out at 3. She loves her day. She loves her life. But it was that limiting belief that she just needed to get over in order to actually really start loving her profession again.
Exactly. And I love that story and perfect example. Perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so cool. So cool. So you're giving this incredible workshop, which is a little taste of what you do at Lolabees. And so I know there's so many listeners listening to your story and they're like, oh my God, she's speaking to me. That's me. That's me she's talking about. And I love all that range of examples you've given of successes in your clients. Tell us about this upcoming workshop and what we can hope to hear from you at the workshop.
Yes. Well, the workshop is called Get Your Side Gig. Get Your Side
Mm.
Gig. And it's in partnership with Vanessa Emerson at Dental Speaker Institute. And it's a 3-hour workshop on Friday, October 28th. And we're going to really dive into, here's the thing about starting a side gig is everyone wants to do it. They just don't know how.
Right.
And so they'll go on these Facebook groups and they'll be like, hey, what is everyone else doing? And you could get 100 suggestions, but for some reason they never sound good, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, I couldn't do this because of that reason. And I couldn't do that because of another reason, right? It's like we create all these blocks for ourselves. And really what's going on there is because, like we talked about at the start of this discussion, we haven't really given ourselves permission.
Right.
So the first thing we're diving into with this workshop is what are our beliefs that are getting in the way, that are preventing us from seeing that we can do this. Because once you can see that you can do it, then these ideas seem much more possible. And so we're also going to dig into some ways that you can connect with yourself to really figure out, like, what do you like? We spend so much time pouring into this identity of just being a dental professional and nothing else that we forget who we are. We lose touch with our creativity. So we're going to reconnect with who you are, and then we're going to start talking about, like, what are some tangible things so that you can leave with a strategy.
Wow, that's
So
powerful.
fun.
That's really powerful. What a great outcome too, to know that you're gonna be able to leave with a strategy, because I think sometimes it seems so nebulous and enormous that that's part of what becomes overwhelming. If not this, pre-prescribed system and algorithm that is dentistry and the solo practice ownership, then what else? And that enormity of the options seems overwhelming, so we don't even start. So what a great gift that you're giving at the end of the workshop, that you can have a strategy.
Exactly. You'll have a list of 30 different things you could do.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'll definitely leave a link for that in the show notes. So if any of you are listening and you think, I just have to hear this workshop and leave with actual tangible tools for going forward, check it out in the show notes, please. And for those of my audience members who are driving, can you just give us the website or the access that we can find that workshop?
Yes, it's getyoursidegig.com.
Perfect. Perfect. That's awesome.
Very easy.
And tell us also, for those who think they want to work with you in a little bit closer contact, maybe one-on-one, are you taking on new clients, Laura?
I am, and I have for people who really want that day-to-day in and out support, because what also can happen is you could make that list, but then it's hard to stay on track
Yeah.
because of the stuff we do in dentistry that keeps
Mhm.
us, justifying why we shouldn't pursue other things. So I have a group coaching program called Start Your Side Gig, where we've got an amazing community. It's to really help people once they help people get to that point that we're doing in the workshop, but then get that hand holding, because once you have the direction, some people really want that step-by-step breakdown of what to do. And so it's a part mastermind
Mm.
where you get this amazing community of like-minded people who will when you're around like-minded people, it'll help you shift your beliefs too. So if you're watching
Absolutely.
other people start side gigs, you're going to know that you can do it too,
And
much
there's that
faster.
sense of community again, right? That power
Exactly.
behind community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's been pretty magical to watch these people
Mm,
become really big supporters of each other and friends,
mm.
which in some communities is hard. It's hard to do when you don't feel like you fit in to
Yep.
the group think, the hive mind of everyone in your community. So we create our own hive mind that supports everyone and gets ideas and break it down into tangible steps so that this overwhelming task
Yep.
becomes doable. And then I also do one-on-one private coaching as well. So
That's awesome. And so
yeah.
where can we find you for that? For access to one-on-one coaching or
Uh,
for the community of Start Your Side Gig?
Yep. I do free consults to help see if I can help people. And my website is Lolabees Career Coaching.com. And
Perfect.
that's Lolabees, Lola, B as in boy, EES, like bumblebees, but Lolabees. And if you search just 10 reasons your dentist hates you, it doesn't even have to be the exact title. You'll find my blog. That's
Yeah.
another
Oh
way to
my
find me.
gosh. Absolutely. Definitely check out the blog. That's what's sparked everything here. So definitely check that one out. I I'm just so excited for you. I'm so excited for everybody who works with you. I'm so excited for changing the language and changing the perspective and changing the way we define success in dentistry. It's such an incredible profession, but it doesn't mean it has to be the same way for every single person. And so that's where the magic lies because each of us is so different. So so cool, Laura. Thank you for all that you do.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Taryn, for all you do and for having me in your world. I love
Oh, this
it.
is so exciting. I'm so glad we finally got to chat in person. Before we leave today, Laura, I'd love to know after all this growth and realization in your life, what is your definition of happiness?
Oh, okay. So my definition of happiness is in that piece that I said earlier about how my everyone was people were emailing me and they were telling me how much I was helping them,
Yeah.
but that I could say back to them how much they're helping me.
Mm,
So I think happiness has to include that self fulfillment, that it's not just about serving others. It's about how can we serve others while we are being impacted ourselves and fulfilled and helped, because without it it's not sustainable. So that and friends and connection, really connection for me is what is the true source of happiness for
yeah.
me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you for being connected with me, Laura, and wishing you all the best. I'm so excited for your workshop coming up soon and for your speaking at another very big event that I know we wanted to just touch base on. You're actually emceeing the Dentistry's Got Talent. Am I right?
You're right. You're right.
Yes. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh. emceeing Dentistry's Got Talent from one of the winners. Laura, you were the winner of
Yeah.
Dentistry's Got Talent, and now you're going to MC the event.
Exactly. It's going to be so much fun. I'll tell you, Dentistry's Got Talent, for anyone who doesn't know, is a 10-minute, it's a TED Talk style speaking competition in dentistry. And it is it's so great. And it's also more stressful than you would think it would
Yeah.
be. So I just can't wait to be on the other side where I
Yeah.
don't have to have now I had such a good time with my speech. I created this thing that I was like, this is my messaging. And so that was great. But I can't wait to just watch all these amazing
Yeah.
creative minds pop up there and that I get to just chill.
So awesome. So
Great.
awesome. And hobnob with Elijah and
Oh
all
my
the other incredible people out
oh
there.
my gosh, so many great dental influencers at that event. And then I get to go on Smiles at Sea, and that's only a couple weeks away. So I'm ready for a vacation, I'll tell you.
I know. You deserve it, my friend. Well,
Thanks.
thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode. I know that you have heard some great insight today and maybe even identified yourself in Laura's story. So, if any of this resonated with you or spoke to you, definitely consider checking out that amazing workshop coming up. And if you think this episode speaks to a colleague or a friend, empower their day and share this episode with them and give them some hope and a sense of community. As always, remember when you feel good, that's when you can really do some good in the world. Bye bye.